Greetings, my friends and family, my sisters. I am Leah Love, and I am so happy to be here right now. I wanted to dive right in, and I do hope that you all can hear me. This is a special request video from one of the dear and beloved sisters in our Laws of Enchantress group that I am a member of, and she's actually also a member of my group, which is the Level Up Charm School group. And this is all about dating yourself first. So, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I am Leah Love, and I love to discuss topics about leveling up, about mindset shift, about law of attraction, about dating, about family and marriage, and everything in between. So I do try to categorize my videos based on subject matter, but always know that I'm always real and always on time. So this video is a shout out to Sister Yasmin, and she was asking me a question about your dating attire and what you should wear when you are starting your dating journey after being out of the quote unquote dating game for so many years. And so we were discussing that in the Laws of Enchantress group, which is focused on healing your sacred feminine self and then preparing yourself for proper dating and proper marriage. And so, as we were discussing attire and we were discussing some of the things that we are seeing out here in the world in terms of the social media, in terms of women feeling as if they have to look a certain way in order to attract a certain type of man. Or if they haven't even determined what type of man that they really, really want, they're still laboring under the impression that because there is a seemingly very popular way in which to present oneself in social media, a lot of times women feel that pressure to, um, emulate these styles. And so for me, always first and foremost, and what was most successful for me, and what I tell the ladies that I do coach, is that your dating should be about you first. Your dating yourself should be about you first. So if you are in a state where you are thinking about how do I even get started? How do I even do what I need to do in order to position myself well? Well, I always start with date yourself first. And so, what does date yourself first mean? That means that you first determine what it is that you are really looking for. Are you dating for company but nothing serious? Are you dating um, to have a boyfriend or whatever, but you're not really into marriage? Or are you dating for the purpose of marriage itself? And so each of those different categories requires a different level of your investment. Um, and so if you are looking for hookup or booty call or whatever you want to, whatever you want to call it, you may not necessarily feel the need to invest in yourself in regards to your thinking, in regards to your appearance above the smut level, no shade, but it is what it is. If you're looking for booty call, you know exactly how you're going to dress. You head to the club, you're not in spaces where there would be men who are looking for something much more greater than a booty call. So you know exactly where to be. You accept whatever phone number comes your way that interests you, and then you all just make that transaction happen. But for the women in my group and the women in the circles that I tend to, commune with, we tend to be more purposeful about our lives in terms of the type of men that we want to attract, in terms of the type of friends that we have. We're very focused business wise, professionally wise, and otherwise. So if a woman may have been married for some time and recently divorced, or divorced for some time and now she's really looking to get into the dating arena, it can be rather daunting because I think it's a very fluid, very flexible space where things change as social media changes people. And I believe that firmly because once I entered the dating game after many, many years of not being in it, it was a huge and rude awakening for me. It was like crash and burn. And I didn't even understand the lingo. I didn't understand the games. I didn't understand the mindset. And it just seems like so many men, and I'm sure from a man's perspective, so many women are playing from the same playbook. And if you're not familiar with the language, hi sis, if you're not familiar with the language, if you're not familiar with the mindset, it can set you back quite a bit if you are a woman who is not on the dating scene just as entertainment, just as a way to pass the time. If you're not on the dating scene for anything other than dating with a purpose because you would like to find a life partner. And so we're going to go into that in many, many other videos. But for right now, the importance that I want to share with you today is the importance of dating yourself first. So dating yourself first means understanding who you are as a person, where you are now, taking inventory, taking stock of what is my position in the trajectory of my entire life. Today, who do I want to be tomorrow? Where do I see myself in 2 years? Where do I see myself in 5 years? What are my greatest aspirations? If I could change anything about my life today, what would it be? If I had the ultimate partner in my life, who would he be? What the traits would he have? What type of characteristics would he have? What type of family background would he have? And what are his thoughts about family, about children, about marriage? Does he come from a marriage culture? If you are dating for the purpose of marriage, all of these are questions that you want to consider, that you want to ask yourself, and write down. I kept many, many journals. And as I transitioned and grew through my own self love process, those lists changed. But no matter what, writing that information down, being purposeful and mindful about your life, allows you to have a better sense of who you are and where you are at the stage that you're currently at. So it makes it so much easier for you to date yourself and date up. So that's a really interesting concept for me, and I utilized it to my benefit. So, in other words, when I say date myself first, it means first knowing who I am, analyzing where I am now and where I want to be in the next 6 months to a year. And that next 6 months to a year is considered dating up first to myself and then dating up in terms of the quality and the character of the men that I plan to attract into my life. And so, in doing that, attire and apparel is very, very important. And now I'm getting into the meat and potatoes of the question that was asked to me in regards to how do we present ourselves in a way that attracts what we want in our life and attracts less of what we don't want in our life. And when we were discussing that in the group, the question was posed, and I ended up posting on my own page about how many times women are, though there is this whole mantra for that women are living by, which is that the strong black woman or the strong independent woman, I got my own, I can make my own. I just need a man for, the eggplant or whatever else. So we have a lot of that stuff floating around. We have a lot of young girls coming up with this erroneous information, and we have a lot of women living by it and then falling on the sword by it. So when you say that you're independent and you don't need a man for very various things in your life, but at the same time you are clothing yourself in a way to attract men, to attract a certain type of man. And through the predominance and the prevalence of social media, whether it be Instagram, whether it be um, the internet in and of itself, various websites, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter, there is a sense that a certain style is popular, that a certain way of looking and appearing for a woman is the go-to look nowadays. So when people are admiring certain artists or people are seeing a certain look repetitively um, thrown in your face on social media, you tend to think that this is what um, men like. This is what all men like. In other words, the look from the 80s is very different from the look from the 90s, is very different from the look of the 2000s, certainly very different from the recent 2010s and on up. And so each time frame has an era, it has a certain style. But there is something which has been very constant throughout the various decades, is that class and elegance is a particular style that, though the particulars and the small details may change, there's a running chord of consciousness within that level of elegance and class. And generally speaking, if you are looking for a marriage minded man, a family man, if you are looking for a man that is capable of taking care of a woman in a family, which would require a certain economic stability, you are definitely in the wrong place if you're looking for him in a nightclub. You're definitely not in alignment with the way in which men think about a woman that they would want to take home, a woman who looks like she's family oriented, who's about her children. If you are somewhere in a museum or in a very nice restaurant in booty shorts, clearly, there is going to be a certain reaction to you. And one of the things that we discuss in our groups, because our groups are um, predominantly and specifically for the Black woman's experience in America, because there are not a lot of traditional marriage, not a lot of sites and groups that promote that. We do tend to find that for my demographic, that you are inundated with images of baby mama, images of stripper culture, images of women with their, butt cheeks out on Instagram. And while I'm not going to get into that for the purposes of the groups that I'm discussing and the questions that we're asking there, these are traditionalism groups. These are women who are traditionalists who are looking to level up their life with a sense of elegance, with a sense of grace, and who are looking for a different experience rather than the run of the mill hip hop thug lifestyle, the baby mama lifestyle, and the trauma and drama that comes from that. So you're looking at the difference between, say a Michelle Obama and a Cardi B. Now, before y'all get all up in your ear, all excited and all of that, Cardi B fighting it out at a fashion show, a high fashion place, is not becoming of the tenets that these groups that I'm involved in support. Definitely, you wouldn't see a Michelle Obama acting out like that at a place like that. So it's not necessarily about the money that you have, but it's about your inner sense of class, grace, and elegance. And so when you begin to want to attract that to yourself and want stability and want a family structure where you are seeing the results of people like Ciara, the results of family oriented, couples like Serena Williams, and Megan Good, um, Meghan Markle. Like these are the women that we discuss and that we look to in terms of what were the steps that were taken to get them to where they are. We're not looking for Cardi B as a role model. We're not looking at the latest stripper on Instagram or what have you as the model for stable um, Black families. We're not, or not if it's not Black families in general. That is not the goal for us, and we make it very clear. And so, no shade, but we don't really care about differences of opinions because we see the results of their life. We see the drama and the trauma and all this extra that's going on in their lives. that doesn't promote healthy family, healthy, stable families, which is what many of us don't come from, but we're making a very concerted effort to move into that direction and move away from being associated with all of that other extra that sells, that has many young girls, tripped up by it, but is not what creates stable families. It's not what creates generational wealth. It's not what creates a situation where our children and our children's children can move forward in life rather than always resetting at zero every time big mama dies or the next, the older generation dies and leaves nothing for your children. um, this setting aside, the stars that got all this little bit of extra money and they're able to leave something if they don't end up broke in a few years. But that's not the sustainable wealth that we are talking about and that we're promoting. So, giving that as the outward context, the reason why I say you want to date yourself first is because you want to get to know yourself. You want to see and visualize yourself in the circles that you wish to be a part of, that you wish to incorporate into your life. And as you experience yourself going through the motions that we talk about in the laws of Enchantress, is how to position yourself to meet people that are about something, that are about intergenerational wealth, that are about stable families, that are business owners, that are basically healthy, and who have a certain standards. And so, how do you position yourself to hobnob with them, to network with them, to go to their churches or to their religious institutions, to go to their meetings, to go to their charity events? How do you do that? Well, that it takes a little bit of study. It takes a little bit of common sense. In other words, are you going to go dressed in Fashion Nova to the Kentucky Derby, or are you going to go dressed in some spandex attire to go into church? Now, if you're going to some of these ratchet churches, that might be one thing. And I'm just going to keep it 100 because a lot of people get very sensitive and they don't want to hear this and they don't want to hear that. But meanwhile, we have these statistics in our community with, over 70+% of Black women are the head of households, are single parents. And we have to really look at that. And so our group definitely discusses that you got to keep it extremely real with yourself and get beyond your little hurt feelings every time someone says something that may be of value to you. And so the way in which you dress is the way in which you treat yourself, and it's also the way in which you want to be treated. If you want respect, if you want a man to see you as more than a hookup, as more than someone who doesn't really value herself, or someone who sees her body as more important than her mind and what she has to offer to the home, and to the family and to furthering the family, then you're going to dress in the way that would attract the basics, the basic level dude. But if you are looking for something more, he's going to be about something, which means, and taking my life as an example, um, my fiance definitely understood when he met me, even the first time we met, that I was someone that he could take to, his company functions, to his meetings, that he could even introduce me to the CEO of the organization that he works for, or that, anywhere that he was to take me and run into one of the many employees that are under him, that I would be presentable and that I would be able to reflect the values that he himself has been building for many, many years, because they are similar to my own values. So while I cannot, I could give you a list of some very critical or necessary things that you will want to have in your wardrobe in terms of the type of clothes that you will want to have on hand so that you're always ready. Because one of the things about this life and this lifestyle of dating, and dating with a purpose, is that you want to be ready. You don't want to always be having to run out to some store just to have a basic black dress, a basic cocktail dress, a basic, a basic white button-down blouse, a tailored jacket, tailored pants that fit you perfectly for your body shape. That you're thinking, oh, I got all kind of Fashion Nova in my closet, and now I've just been invited to, a charity ball, a charity event, and you don't have anything in your closet that represents anything like the type of men that you want to attract into your life who are involved in certain activities that they don't have to do this entire massive makeover in order to go to. So that's a part of what you want to start thinking when you say you're dating yourself. Yourself is a woman who wants to position herself with a certain type of man, a certain type of community, a certain type of vibe that you want to ensure that you're ready for. And so you already start, little by little, um, putting a very important, classy, non extra, over the top, flashy, not super tight clothing that you already have, that you keep prepared, that are dry cleaned and ready to go. Should you get an impromptu invite, even if it's not from a man, it might be from a networking associate, it might be from an owner of another company that has connections with X, Y, and Z, and you want to be ready. So always keep um, cleaned, dry cleaned, tailored, well fitting clothes for your body type in your closet and ready to go. To me, that's what I call dating yourself, because you're always ready to be out and about should you need to network, socialize, and or be on a date. Another thing that I always did once I decided that I was going to be about purposeful dating is that I was always on. In other words, there was not a time where I said, okay, well, today I'm not in the mood, so I'm just going to go outside in my hair rollers or my bonnet and my house shoes and my robe because I'm just running to the corner store or I'm just running to Walmart. First of all, we're not doing that anyway, but I give that as an example. In other words, so because I see and saw myself as the CEO of my own life, as the owner of my own life, and I manage my skills, my values, and my actions the way that one would manage a business. So I considered myself always on duty in terms of if I was going out into the world, I do not shortcut myself. I do not cut my feet off or my legs off, so to speak, because you never know when you are in heavy manifestation mode, when you are in heavy attraction mode, you never know where or when you're going to meet this person because you got to be always ready. You got to always be in the mindset that I am always attracting my very best to myself at all times. And as you are doing that, you will set yourself up for the very best of internal feelings, the very best of your aura, the very best of self care, and the very best of physical presentation. So I made it a point, whether I was going to the grocery store, whether I was just going to the post office, whether I was going to Walmart, heaven forbid, or Target and these type of places, I always made sure that I was presentable. I always made sure that my hair was tied, my hair was done, makeup done. Not to say that it would necessarily be the level that I might do on a date night, for instance, but always presentable, always crisp, clean, classic attire, never in some messed up jogging pants with paint on it or holes on it or what have you. Always in a state of readiness so that at any time anybody passes me, they may see me at one place and then notice me, but happen to see me again in another place, and they might say, "Oh, I saw you at this place. You were really lovely," and et cetera, et cetera. And for me, it is all part and parcel of dating myself because even if I was going to the grocery store or even if I was going to Walmart or to the shoe store or whatever, I noticed that once I started investing in myself and my own level of self-care and keeping a high standard for myself, I started to maintain a high standard at every other level of my life, whether it be the people in my circle, whether it be the energy and time that I gave my focus to, whether it be the type of man that I was cultivating in my own energy space. whether it be the type of books I read, the shows I watched. I was always maintaining a high standard, a high level, because I first maintained it with myself. And once I got that habit of maintaining that high level, the high standards, I began to gain confidence in my level up process. I began to see the evidence of it, which is once I would go to stores, people were opening doors for me. Um, Whereas it would be hard to find a salesperson in a store, or they would be very short with me if I was asking a question. All of a sudden, they were very pleasant and, oh, can I help you with more? They were just very open because people have a certain idea about people who look like money, people who look like wealth. Um, People who look like they have high standards, people who look like they don't drag themselves through life every day. They tend to treat those people differently than the person who walks in looking like a bag lady or walks in looking like, they're just kind of going about their life haphazardly and they just really didn't want to invest in themselves in that particular moment. Well, life is a reflection, it's a mirror. So if you didn't want to invest in yourself in that particular moment, that person in turn doesn't want to invest their energy in you by being helpful, by being present, by going above and beyond. But it's amazing the energy that I received from people when I walked in, um, well put together, looking like I expect and demand the best because I expect and demand the best for myself. So you're not going to show up and act any kind of way with me or treat me indifferently because you're in a mood. Seemingly, people act very different, and I saw the difference between when I was walking around, not invested in my self care, and then between when I made that decision to invest. And so that exchange of energy was so important because it feeds on itself. So getting that good energy from the sisters. Hi sis, I'm thinking I'm having some delayed reactions here. Thank you all for joining me. I just now saw some pop up. So if y'all been saying things to me, I apologize for not responding, but YouTube, both YouTube and Facebook are a little bit slow with playing back the comments. So I do apologize and I thank you all for listening. And I really did want to keep it short, but when I say dating yourself, it's a lifestyle. Whether even as I have found the man that I plan to marry, my fiance, and even as we are planning our wedding, this spring, I personally continue to date myself. I continue to not only court myself, but keep myself in a state of being that is such a high level of self care that he can't help but to continue to court me, to, send me messages about how much he is so thankful to have me in his life, a woman who has really taken time to consider herself and her values and her sense of self worth, and who really puts the time and effort and energy into herself. This is something that he happens to value. This is something that apparently he doesn't see very much in his circles, even as he is a physician and a medical director. But it's funny how even in those circles, it could be his town that he lives in or whatever, but it's not. He just didn't have a very easy time finding a suitable woman that could step into his life without. Hi y'all, I am so sorry. I apologize. My phone actually fell. And my phone actually fell and battery fell out and everything. And I am so surprised that the live is still there. I was going to come back on and apologize for that interruption. Um, my bad, for real though. So it seems like the video is still going on. Guys, I was in my flow about to do a Facebook Live with Connie Lauren Walker. And so those are always live and really, really fun. So I'm definitely going to close this down. It was probably good to get me because I was about to get on the roll, y'all. But I hope this was helpful in terms of dating oneself first. And I think that where I was when the phone fell and battery fell out and it was mayhem over here, um, is that what I was saying was that the continual ritual and habit of dating yourself is a because I always want to keep myself in a state of expansion, in a state of expectation, in a state of always looking to see how I can grow and expand and present myself to myself first and foremost and to others in the very best possible way. And for me, it was so important in my dating process when I started this route was that I really um, fell in love with myself. The first time in my life, I was enamored with myself. I was so pleased by the results of the self care and just how I felt internally when I was taking care of myself, how it boosted my self confidence. To me, that's really experienced in my life, and it was very valuable. So I definitely plan on keeping that, even as, a married woman, etc. So I do want to close it out. I hope this was really helpful to the sis who asked the question, and for anyone else listening, thank you so much. Share and subscribe if you find that this information was helpful for anybody else in your life that you know who's starting in the dating game and wants to figure out how to position yourself so that you don't waste your going through the hard knocks and the ropes and learning the new lingo and the new mindsets and the group think and everything that's going on. I really feel like I paid my dues in that, and I really want to share as much as I can. So definitely keep the questions coming. I'm more than happy to share my insight and my thoughts on it and what gave me the highest level that I've received thus far. All right. Well, peace and blessings. This is Leah Love again. Thank you so much. And I will be back. Okay. Now, Facebook doesn't, I mean, not Facebook, YouTube does not want to close. And, okay. Delayed. I see it.